I feel bad for Oliver Anthony. That's his stage name. His real name is Chris Lunford. I feel kind of bad for him, but I don't feel bad for him more than I feel good for him. Rich Men North of Richmond is a great song. I find myself singing it every so often because it's just, man, he hit the nail on the head with the hammer. But now he's facing some backlash. He's wondering why it is the GOP debate asked the question about his song. He derided it a little bit. The left has accused him of being a conspiracy theorist and attacked him, and he's tried to stay out of politics because Chris, well, he's a normie. That's it. Regular guy. He's a regular guy who saw some stuff, saw what was going on in the world, wrote about it, and did not understand the depth of the culture war. And that's why I often talk about the small factions that are involved in the greater degree of the culture war. But those that are paying attention to politics, those that are deeply involved, understand to a greater degree. Now, of course, there are some that understand to a greater degree than others, some who are more responsible for the crisis and the conflict than others. But the average person probably just doesn't get it. I do think that there are different views on what is happening in the world. I've heard all these arguments where the real culture war is globalism versus nationalism. I've heard other people say, well, it's libertarianism versus authoritarianism. I've heard people say it's left versus right. It's communist versus fascist. Well, there are two factions. And it's tribalism. The left doesn't seem to have any real hard moral stance on things other than accumulate power and wield it. And the right has become a disparate faction of people of differing views, but who are trying to be to a greater degree honest. Don't get me wrong, both sides have their grifters. But this brings me to Oliver Anthony and my critique of him. And it is not a personal or professional statement of disrespect. In fact, I feel for him. I like the guy. He's great. Not only that, he's got a whole bunch of songs. He came out with that new song, I think it's called I Want to Go Home. And then he's got Ain't Got a Dollar, I think it's called. He's really great. It's good country folk stuff. I like the music. I just want to say this about who he is, and I think what a lot of people don't understand in that what it means to be a normie. So let me break down the story as it goes so far and talk to you about where we're at. Politico.com says Fox News debate host defends playing Rich Men North of Richmond amid singer's criticism of GOP candidates. Fox News anchor and co-host Martha McCallum defended using the conservative anthem, Rich Men North of Richmond. Whoa. Politico says conservative anthem. Oliver, if at any point this video reaches you, and I hope it does, I'm a big fan, and I hope you understand that you are a good musician. You had that statement where you said you're just a regular guy, you're not even a good musician, but you really are. Because being a good musician is not about being able to play the craziest licks on the guitar or write the most intricate lyrical poems. It's about making a song that people can relate to, they understand with. I'll put it simply. There can be the greatest ice cream maker in the world, and he makes the fanciest broccoli ice cream. It's very difficult to do. Nobody wants to eat it. But you, sir, you, my friend, made a basic and delicious chocolate. That's good music. All right. But look at this. They're calling you on Politico conservative. And you may not realize it, but whatever it is you are falls onto the right wing of the culture war spectrum. Let's break it down. We'll read more and I'll get into it. The conservative anthem, Rich Men North of Richmond, is a talking point. The reason we asked 8 GOP candidates after playing Rich Men North of Richmond and pointing out that DC is just 100 miles north of Richmond was to say, are you on stage part of the problem that he sings about or part of the solution? McCallum wrote on X, formerly known as Twitter. He sings of people who are deeply frustrated and don't want anyone trying to control them. It would be a good way to start a Democrat or GOP debate to spark an important conversation. Correct. My friend, you wrote a song criticizing those people. They were asked about your criticisms. This song is resonating around the world. And here you have a debate and they say, why are people, the question was, why is this song resonating with people so much? It was not to be interpreted as you represent exactly the countenance to the problem. No, it's you stand here as either a part of the problem or an attempt at a solution. Why do you think this song resonates with people? Oliver Anthony came out and said this song was about them. But yes, obviously it was. And they should answer for that. I would love to hear Democrats and Republicans answer to why people like that song. But we've got to break down the politics here. Fox News, Oliver Anthony thought he might die. Before viral rise to fame, my body was falling apart. Anthony embraces faith after being turned off by the past man-made religion. I found it interesting that he said he was having chest pains and brain fog, as an aside. He told the Free Press he wanted to write the song because he was worried that he wasn't going to be around. But he mentions in the interview his faith. Okay, let's start here. The left abjectly defies Christianity and opposes it. Well, you can be Christian and still align with the left cult. I saw a church in Portland that had a bunch of progress pride flags on it, so they certainly it can certainly transcend politics. But let's carry on a bit more. Fox News says, media outlets label viral country song about the working class as right-wing. Outnumbered hosts discuss massive popularity of Oliver Anthony's Rich Men North of Richmond. And then I want to read you, to give you some context, a statement made by Oliver himself. He posted to Facebook. This will be my last post about politics on social media. I apologize for beating a dead horse, but I just need to address this quote in my video earlier, since it's been misinterpreted this evening. Corporate news, big surprise, is now trying to twist me into being a Biden supporter. Full stop. Let's start there. Criticizing the corporate press is inherently right-wing, according to the corporate press. If you oppose them, you're right-wing. Oliver Anthony. You may not realize this, but you are, according to them, right-wing. Politico calls you conservative. They call it a right-wing anthem. You are calling them the corporate news. Whether you understand it or not, as a normie who doesn't pay much attention, this is exactly what the right has been identified as. Of course, it can include people who have left-wing economic views and political views. Doesn't matter. If you call the corporate press liars and call it warmongers, you're right-wing. For instance, Oliver, you had a quote where you said they can fund foreign wars but not feed the poor. Right. That's a right-wing talking point, according to the corporate press, because the Democrats say we should all sacrifice to help the people of Ukraine. But I'll read more. He says that song has nothing to do with Joe Biden. It's a lot bigger than Joe Biden, is referencing DeSantis' response to my song. He talks about needing to get Joe Biden out as if that would automatically solve all the problems. Biden is a big part of the issue, but it runs much deeper. Rich Men North of Richmond is about corporate-owned DC politicians on both sides. Here, I agree. Though Biden's most certainly a problem, the lyrics aren't exclusively knocking Biden. It's bigger and broader than that. It's knocking the system collectively, including the corporate-owned conservative politicians that were on the stage that night. Good night, everyone. Thanks again. He's correct. Now, let me slow down. I could be wrong in my assessment and assumption that Oliver Anthony is a normie who doesn't really understand the nuances of what's going on. He could absolutely be aware of what's going on. He sings in his song, Miners on an Island Somewhere. But he's absolutely right. The Uniparty is a problem. And you get these warmongers on stage saying, like, we should be going and fighting Putin. And then he says in his song, you got money for foreign wars, but you can't feed the poor. I got to break it down for you, my friend. Whether you like it or not, the media has described that as right wing. So you can say it's not about politics. And you can say that you don't want people to be divided by politics. But my dude, what do you think we're all trying to do when they scream at our face, calling us fascists and far right and right wing extremists? We're trying to protect the working class. We're trying to help the poor. We want to provide them with boots by which they can pull themselves up by their bootstraps. I do not live in a world where I just say to a poor person, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, because homie doesn't even have any boots. He can't pull himself up by his toenails. So my view is more middle of the road. Hey man, how do we get this guy a pair of boots and then teach him how to lift himself up by them? It's a combination of the two. Hard work and responsibility must exist in this world. Since 2016, Vox has tracked that Democrats replaced Republicans as the preferred party of the very wealthy. There were always very wealthy people who liked Democrats, but since Donald Trump, many of these neocons uniparty shills joined the Democrats and are never Trumpers. They like the Democratic Party. The Republican Party is still very much the uniparty, but there are elements within it that are doing a decent job. Not that they're perfect. All that really matters is this. When you come out and say, I wish that the politicians cared about miners, as in coal miners, you need to understand that back in 2016, there was a campaign by the corporate press to get miners to lose and quit their jobs, #learn to code. They were telling them, how about you quit your job working in Appalachia and go learn to code a computer? You can't teach a 50-year-old guy you can teach a lot of people a lot of things, but you can't tell some dude who's middle-aged and he's 10 years from retirement to stop doing what he is a master of and what his family has done for generations and just pick up a computer. So what happened? regular working people defending the poor started tweeting learn to code. And what did they do in response? They called it far right. They called it a harassment campaign, and they started banning anyone who opposed their narrative garbage. So when you write a song and you say protect minors and be concerned about minors and minors on an island somewhere, you're basically saying you don't like the corporate establishment elites and their Epstein Island trash, and you want the working class to be protected. My friend, welcome to the outlying MAGA party, I guess. Whether you like it or not, Trump is not a perfect avatar of the anger of the right-wing populists in this country, and many of those assigned the name right-wing aren't even conservative. But this is where we are now. If you say defend the working class and Epstein sucks, they call you conservative. And that's who you are. Now, you can reject it, deny it all you want, and that's fine. I don't believe it is a correct assessment. They say, Tim Pool, the right wing. What does that even mean, right wing? I guess if you're talking about tribalism, fine. I certainly wouldn't call myself left in reference to Marxists and or socialists and communists. But my politics on the political spectrum are center-left libertarian. That's why I said, provide the boots so they can lift themselves up by their bootstraps. Traditional, social, what is it called? It's not social, it's not classical liberalism, it's classical liberalism. And then there's social liberalism, I think it's called. And it's been a while since I talked about it. Where it's like, hey, we do need some accords amongst men, agreements, where we can be like, I think we should help the poor. I think that it is reasonable to say that we are only strong as our weakest link. And that means if we have massive, tremendous wealth, we should try and do what we can to control for breakdowns in society. And that means a certain degree of government where we agree to allocate resources. So sometimes when someone loses their job, we offer them unemployment benefits, welfare. I like the argument. You don't call them entitlements. They're earned benefits because we pay taxes into them. Not literally, but technically. Modern monetary theory is a bit different, but you get my point. We're paying into a system that we should benefit from. I'm not an anarchist. I'm not far right. I believe in a progressive tax system for a variety of reasons. I don't like the way the tax system is implemented, but for all of these reasons, being pro-choice and even agreeing with unlimited immigration through a legal process, of course, where we can track the individuals properly, they're middle of the road, centrist at the bare minimum, and often leaning slightly left, but they would still say, I'm right wing. So my dude, welcome to the fray. You can resist it all you want, but you are going to be labeled by the corporate press a conservative and right wing because the people who own these companies are the ones who went to that island you so perfectly criticized. You think the guy who owns the media organization, who was on the plane with Epstein, is going to appreciate you calling him out? No. He'll try to demonize you. And that's where we are. Now, look. Let me slow down. Oliver Anthony maybe completely understands this. And the strategy he may be approaching is just keep it focused on economics, and maybe you can convince some normies in the middle of the road to listen to what he has to say. That may be it. So he comes out and says, I'm not a left, it's not right, it's just a song about the working class. Because he wants to make sure he does not get forced away from preaching to regular working class people who otherwise need to hear this message. Or he could be a normie who doesn't quite know exactly what's going on. And it's like, why is everybody calling me conservative? Well, because you're a Christian man who complained about Jeffrey Epstein. Welcome to being called right-wing by the press. In the long run, there are some leftists who have cheered for what he said in his song. And I hope that message gets to them. But in the meantime, understand all of this nuance about the culture war. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.